G'day there, I'm Pete, and welcome to Pete's Boxing. Okay, everyone, welcome to Pete's Boxing, and this here is my brother. He wishes to remain anonymous. He wants to be called what was it again? Wisdom or something.
It's a tribute to one of the first YouTube channels I used to watch, Pound for Pound Boxing. Don P and Knowledge, and I'm not stealing your name, Knowledge. I'm just as a tribute to you. Knowledge.
Yeah, sure, Knowledge. So, my brother, we'll call him Knowledge. Okay, so what I wanted to do with these podcasts, I wanted to review some boxing gloves, but I wanted to take you on the same journey that I was taken on when I first started boxing and I first started trying to find what were the best gloves available to me. Now, I'm sure all of you would already know the glove reviewers out there. I myself had quite an extensive investigation into the various people that do the boxing glove reviews. So we've got Johnny from Expert Boxing, great guy. He does fantastic reviews, more on the written side than the video side, the YouTube side. But I reckon Johnny from Expert Boxing does great reviews and very extensive, so make sure you check him out. We've got Carlo from C Squared. He does mostly the YouTube boxing glove reviews, boxing equipment reviews. He's really good. Like, he gives really quite extensive reviews, talks mostly about the aesthetics, I find. But what I think about C Squared, Carlo, is that often he just he'll use the gloves for about a week or 2 weeks, and then he'll kind of give sort of an initial impression. And of course, the problem with that is gloves wear down over time. But certainly does great in-depth reviews. And then, of course, we got what's his name? Fit to Box. I actually know what his name is. He's a good pom from England. Pommy, and
he doesn't whinge too much.
He doesn't whinge too much. The Pommies tend to do that. No, I'm just joking. He also does extensive reviews and does a lot of boxing equipment reviews. Now, I suppose what we wanted to add to the online community was to give you a beginner's guide to boxing gloves. From an Australian perspective. And so, the first gloves that we'll be reviewing today are the Everlast Protex 2.
Protex 2, baby.
Okay, so I started boxing through my brother Dan. Cut that out. Can we cut that out? Sorry. Knowledge. I started boxing. My brother Knowledge introduced me to boxing. And I was going down to the gym and I was using those crusty, stinky gloves that they have at the boxing gym.
Don't touch those. I'm
sure you all know those. And then after a couple of months of boxing, I come to my brother and I say, Dad, Knowledge. What? I want to get a pair of gloves. Do you know what he says to me? Do you remember what you say to me, man?
Everlast.
No, you didn't say that. You said, why would you want your own pair of gloves? Don't bother. Just use the gloves at the gym. Why, man? My hands stink. He's like, yeah, it's all part of it.
I thought you'd quit after a week.
Like, come on, man. I want to buy some proper gloves. Tell me what to buy. I don't know what to buy. And like anyone first starting out boxing, no one really knows what to buy.
I didn't know.
You didn't know. So, and probably still don't. So, I say, come on, man. I pressure him. I say, come on, man. Tell me what to get. And what did you tell me to get? Everlast
Protex 2.
The Everlast Protex.
I had a pair of these too.
So
I liked these.
You more than liked them. You'd love them. So we went down to the local sporting store, and you told me to look for the Protex 3 if it was available. But there was the Protex 2 there, and I bought it. And I have to say, in the beginning, I loved it. Even though when I punched that heavy bag, I damaged my wrist. All right. The Everlast Protex 2. Now, you go to any sporting store, or you're starting out boxing, you want a pair of boxing gloves to do the boxercise or whatever it is.
Hit the pads.
Hit the
bag.
You're most likely going to get yourself a pair of these
Everlast.
Everlast, right?
Everyone knows Everlast.
Everyone knows Everlast. Muhammad Ali used Everlast. I mean, everyone knows Everlast, right? All right. What do I think of the protex2 gloves? Now, this is probably where myself and Knowledge disagree. I think the protex2 Everlast gloves are absolute trash. I wouldn't buy
To be fair, this pair of glove that you got was trash. I agree.
Look, man. Okay. I'm just going to get a close-up of the gloves, but just while we're talking, if you can just get a close-up of the gloves here. If you have a look... Sorry. Just relax. If you have a look at the stitching here, if you see this strap, right, have a look at the Velcro. You have this tiny little Velcro patch here. So that goes.
I believe they changed the design though. Did they, or these are the Evercool?
We've got the power lock. Anyway, this strap, after I think it was 2 months, this Velcro strap fell off. And I was like, I can't be bothered going back to the sports store and getting a refund. I probably lost my receipt. This is a pain in the butt. So what I ended up doing is I just got the sewing machine out and I resewed on. And to be fair, the one that I resewed on actually lasted longer than the one I didn't resew on. So my sewing was pretty good at the time. Now, if you have a look, you can see that there's all sorts of nonsense gimmicks here. Firstly, let's start with the padding. All right. Now, they look like black leather gloves. They look cool when you put them on, no doubt.
Shiny when you first get them.
And
they're not leather, are they?
No, they're definitely not leather. And if you have
and that's a big thing.
Anything that's not leather, if this synthetic kind of material, it's going to peel and flake off. And
I feel like it doesn't deal with moisture. So if you just chuck them into your gym bag, would you say that?
I don't know. I don't think it deals well with anything really, but. I think what they've done is they've skimped on a lot of things. If you have a look at this mesh material here, now you ask yourself, this mesh material, cooling. No, I don't think it's there for cooling. I think it's there because it's the cheapest material that they could put in the glove. You can see it's tearing there at the thumb. I think for me the worst part of the glove, they actually fit pretty well, and they feel
like a sneaker.
They do feel like a sneaker.
And they're comfortable straight off the bat.
Now, you put the glove on. When I was using the glove, if you see there's this seam down here along the wrist. Now you'll see some gloves with the seam there, and you can see you can move your wrist like that, right? Now, if I were to give beginners starting out looking for a new pair of gloves, I wouldn't recommend these because as a beginner, yes, I was very unco. I'll admit that. I was very noob-like. But I found that in my uncoordinated attempts to hit the heavy bag, I injured my wrist a couple of times because there just isn't that wrist support. When I hit the bag, if I hit it awkwardly or incorrectly, when I struck the bag, it twisted my wrist, and I did some damage there. And I think for a beginner, because I think one of the things I probably lacked as a beginner was power.
Speed. Stamina.
Okay, all right, just calm down. So I don't think there was that much chance for me to hurt my knuckles. I think the padding, it uses what do they call it? It's called
that's a good point, actually.
Molded injected foam. They use molded injected foam on the front of the glove.
Look, to be fair though, when you're first starting out boxing and your hands are not used to it, it doesn't matter. It's not going to matter what kind of glove you use until you've accustomed your hand to the impact of hitting that bag or hitting the pads. You're gonna have sore hands. So there is that as well.
I mean, it's boxing, yeah. Like just look at this. It's actually shedding on the table.
Yeah. You should see my gym bag.
Look, you got stuff like Evercool. What the hell is Evercool?
See, I don't know. I think they changed
Evercool.
It means they use the cheap mesh. with mine, in its defense, in the protex2 defense, with mine, it had anti-odor technology, I think it was advertised as, and look, that worked because I don't know what chemicals they sprayed in, probably cancer-causing chemicals. But
I think the material was made of the cancer-causing chemicals, but it didn't absorb odor.
But it did not stink like the men's change room.
You're talking about your Protex2 gloves.
Yeah, talking about Protex2.
I think, look, there is this argument. There is an argument that as a beginner, this is a good sort of entry-level glove. One, because this costs about 80 Australian dollars, which is what? About 60 US, something like that. You might think not a huge amount. So you might say the argument there, it's a good entry-level glove. It does the job. Which is what you told me. You said, this will do the job. Now, my concern is this fell off after 2 months.
This particular pair of gloves did not do the job.
I mean, you have to account for quality control.
Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
if I buy a pair of gloves for $80, at the time I thought $80 was a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
So I would have expected at least to last 2-3 years. It didn't. It lasted 2 months.
I expected it to last 2-3 years too. Yeah.
I mean, look, maybe because yours did, but yours was also flaking and peeling.
Mine lasted more than 2-3 years, but yes, you're right, and it's flaking a lot more here. And the first thing I noticed here too were these bubbles. The bubbles. That was bizarre. That didn't happen with mine. And look, this is a bad pair. I'm not gonna lie. The Velcro doesn't work anymore. That's not gonna stay.
I mean, my question is, if you go down to a local sports store as a beginner boxer, in Australia, you've basically got two options, and there's sort of a semi-third option. Okay, you go down to your Rebel Sport or your local sports store. You got your Everlast gloves. 100% they're going to be there.
Yeah,
and most people are going to buy them. Right?
I did.
Then you got your Sting gloves. Sting are sponsors of the amateur boxing competitions in Australia. I think maybe the US, but although they might have changed to Onward now or some other brand.
Yeah.
But Sting. I haven't used too much of Sting, but you're probably going to get one of these gloves. Now, the question is, if you buy an Everlast pair of gloves, how long is it going to last? Well, it's not going to last forever, is it? So
it's not something you're going to give to your boy when you take him to the gym,
But, I mean, my point is, I spent $80 on a pair of gloves, and then I have to buy a new pair of gloves after a year.
Look, not knowing what I know, I probably wouldn't go down this track. But it's also like when you first start, and it goes back to my advice to you, is to use the gloves at the gym. Probably, I don't know, in the day of Corona, it's a bit of a no-no, but when you first start, you just want to get in there. You want to hit the bag. You want to learn a little bit, and $80 is not that much of a gatekeeper, if you know what I mean. But look, if you do continue on, it is probably $80 in the rubbish bin. It was for you, absolutely, with these. But yeah,
look, I wouldn't recommend these to anyone. I think for me, you buy a pair of boxing gloves to protect your wrists and your knuckles. Now, does it protect the knuckle? Yes. It does protect the knuckle. It uses this mold-injected foam. Now, if anyone wonders where these are made, I think the majority of boxing gloves are made in Pakistan. They've got like massive... Oh, actually, these are made in China. China or Pakistan. We've got massive boxing gloves set up in factories across Pakistan, and well, everything's made in China these days. And they just churn these out. So a lot of gloves are actually like the different branding of gloves. They're all made in the same factory, and they just stick on the different brand. And look, it does protect your knuckles.
look, I think,
but it doesn't protect your wrist. For me,
if you're getting
my wrist,
if you're getting anything made out of synthetic leather, look, I know Winnings use synthetic leather with the headgear, and I love that headgear. But
I mean, the headgear is not getting you'd expect it's not getting whacked.
Yeah, I think that the synthetic, I don't know what synthetic they've used and how it's different to this, but I think if you're getting synthetic leather, the longevity is in question straight away.
Oh, absolutely. So really the question is, would I recommend these gloves to a beginner? That's the question. Now, you recommended it to me as a beginner. Thanks, man. Thank you for that. Now I've got to... Look, we're
I
here.
agree.
We're talking about it. That's okay.
I agree.
Would I recommend these to a beginner? I would say no, absolutely not. I would say save your money. The third option in Australia, and I think they now have entered the US as well, is the Punch brand. The Punch now...
Very popular in Australia.
Very popular. I'm going to do we'll do a review of the Punch gloves. They use leather. As an entry-level glove, I think I would go for a Punch. If you just want something off the rack, like just something easy, not too expensive. This is 80 Australian. Punch is about 100 to 120, 150, maybe something like that, depending on the style of glove you get. Everlast. Now, interestingly enough, majority of Everlast gloves are either made in Pakistan or China. Everlast have one pair of gloves that the professionals use, that all the boxing community in the US and worldwide really love.
The Pro Max?
It's called the Everlast MX.
MX.
Do you know what MX stands for? Mexico. In other words...
The Mexican, the Puncher's glove.
In other words, Everlast acknowledged that, their branding was getting damaged by the trash that they were churning out. And they decided to... make a proper pair of gloves in Mexico. So,
but I think Everlast have a range of models at different price points as well. So,
well, what's going to be if you spend 150, 180 at a sports store, you're getting more or less the same thing, slightly different design. I can't imagine. I mean, one, you're getting the synthetic. You're not getting leather. You're never getting leather.
I would steer away from synthetic.
You're getting the molded, because synthetic falls apart. You're getting the molded injected foam. Interestingly enough, a lot of expensive brands also use this same formula. The synthetic leather and the molded injected foam, such as Hayabusa. Hayabusa, you're paying 200 plus for a pair of gloves. People think they look cool. I think they look hideous, but, everyone's got different tastes.
Hayabusa.
It's got an interesting name, nice design. What else?
You've got kickboxing brands. You've got Twins.
Yeah, they all use leather though, Thai leather.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, you might think leather is definitely a step up from the synthetic, but
leathers ain't leathers.
Yeah, not all leathers are equal. So when I do the Punch review, we'll go into
but
that sort of
I think
mid-range
I don't know.
glove as well.
Tell me what you think. But I think if you get something in genuine leather as a beginner, that's gonna last.
Oh yeah, definitely. As a first glove, I would definitely go for something like a Punch. Yeah, Punch. But if you're going to spend $120 on a pair of gloves, why not spend another $50, $60 and get a pair of Mexican gloves? Get a pair of Casanova.
I think if you're doing boxercise and you're just hitting the pads, you want to do a bit of drills, you want some fitness. I don't know.
Look.
Which is what I thought you would be doing.
Look, well, maybe I thought I was doing that too. But if you invest in a proper pair of Mexican gloves, they're gonna last. You can pass them on to your kid.
You go to the boxing gym once a week. You do your work. You give them to your son when he turns 15.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do we rate Everlast Protex 2 gloves? What would you rate them out of 10? Knowledge?
Well, it's a price to ratio, but look,
price to quality ratio.
I don't think I wouldn't give it a score. I agree with you. As hard as it is to say, I would not recommend these at all. I think spend a bit more money and get something genuine leather.
All right, that is the conclusion of our review of the Everlast Protex 2. I hope you all enjoyed our first session. I'll be going on to the next pair of gloves that I took on my evolution in my boxing
journey. He's gone on a journey.
I've gone on a journey, and I'll put all the links in the bio below, including a link to our store. We sell genuine Mexican boxing
handmade
gloves at very reasonable prices. We actually don't. I don't think we don't make any money on it.
We don't make any money. We work for free.
We're
work for free, guys.
We're trying to get quality equipment to the Australian audience. So. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed our first review and looking forward to seeing you all again next time.